New conversation. Let's talk, think about it. Let's get it together. Together we can do it. Oh, out of the box. Think out of the box. Out of the box. Out of the box. Out of the box. Think out of the box. Out of the box. Out of the box.
What's up, family? Welcome to the Out of the Box podcast. I am your host, Jay Got Soul. This is season 3, episode 4 of the Out of the Box podcast. So if you're listening to this show, thank you for joining us. So far in season 3, we have shared the studio with some amazing artists and creatives. Now we're transitioning into engaging in taboo conversations. On the Out of the Box podcast, here's what you can expect. This show will entertain and educate you. As the founder of Black Money Matters Act Like It, we talk a lot about money and the importance of financial literacy. With that said, this show is sponsored by Urban Financial Literacy. Urban Financial Literacy specializes in protecting, building, preserving your wealth. If you or your family is in need of life insurance, retirement planning, credit repair, mortgage protection, or trust and estate planning, reach out to Urban Financial Literacy to book your consultation. Also, be sure to visit my website at blackmoneymattersactlikeit.com to check out our inventory. We are currently running our rebranding sale while supplies last from our previous collection. All of the items on that collection is $30. Our Nova Sky dedication collection is also available on our website. So a percentage of those proceeds will be allocated towards Nova's medical bills. And lastly, if you're in need of some practical budgeting tools and some coaching, head over to our services page and book your free consultation today. We believe that there are practical steps to take a step forward towards wealth building, and we want to help you on that journey. So engage with the brand as we intend to add value to the life of our customers and clients through practical application. Thank you to those of you that are listening, and I would like to ask you all, if you're listening, share this broadcast with as many people as possible. But before we get started with our show, let's have a word of prayer. Dear God, thank you for this time in the studio. Thank you for those who are listening and watching here with us today. God, we ask that whatever we talk about here can add some value to someone's life. We ask that you just continue to be with those and protect those who are in need of your love and protection. In your name we pray. Amen. All right, y'all. So today's segment is full of information gathered from attending some of the community's events around the LA area. On May 18th, I had the opportunity to attend the Crenshaw Corridor Symposium hosted by the Community Briefing. Who is the Community Briefing, you may ask? The Community Briefing is a weekly community meeting held on Thursdays from 11 to 12 p.m. Each session I have attended has been filled with community resources and like-minded community leaders who are on a mission to increase equity in the Black community, but particularly in small Black businesses. There is a high concentration in expanding and growing Black and Brown-owned businesses in our communities. If you're a small business or work in a capacity that you would like to support the mission, check out the Community Briefing every Thursday on YouTube at the Community Briefing. Subscribe to their channel on YouTube and turn on your notifications for updates and live events. My newly acquired mentor, Crystal Mitchell, who is the co-director of Recycling Black Dollars, has a team of community leaders such as Stephen Turner, Greg Sneed, and Robin Billups that host this platform weekly to connect community leaders and business owners to grow and expand their businesses to achieve success. So I encourage you, if you're listening and you find you have some questions, please place them in the chat, or you can give us a call at 310-910-9676, extension 1. All right. So as I previously stated, I attended the Crenshaw Corridor Symposium this past Thursday, and I walked away with some much needed information, y'all. This event was hosted by the Community Briefing, as I stated, as well as the Black Business Association, and moderated by Michael Anderson, the CEO of Anderson Barker Architects. So Michael is committed to transforming the underserved parts of our communities into great places. As an architect and urban designer, Michael is focused on the economic development and modernization of Black and brown underserved communities. Another prominent person to note that was there as well was Danny Bakewell Jr. He was on the first panel. And so Danny Bakewell is an African American developer who owns property where the JP Morgan Chase Bank is on Crenshaw and Vernon. So a lot of us think that building is the Chase Bank. I heard this during the symposium. They're like, yeah, no, this is the Bakewell building. Chase is a tenant in the Bakewell building. And so the Bakewell building is a Black-owned establishment, and they are committed to uplifting the underserved communities and helping us gain that equity in our community. The Bakewell family believes in quality of life and uplifting the African American community. Then there was Daryl J. Carter. He's the CEO of Avanth Capital Management, LLC. Avanth, I believe I'm saying it right, is an investment firm that acquires, owns, renovates, and operates affordable workforce and valuable oriented apartment communities across U.S. Avanth partners with institutional investors, both domestically and internationally, to deliver quality primary housing in major metropolitan and suburban markets. Their primary focus and mission is to provide hardworking families higher quality, well-maintained, and safe value rental housing based on their pursuit of the American dream. All right, so the purpose of me sharing this information with you guys and these people is because as the Black Money Matters Act Like It brand, I want to highlight some of the major, prominent folks out here that's actually doing the work, right? A lot of times we're just like, oh yeah, they're not gonna let Black people do anything. They're not gonna let Black people have anything. And I once had that mind frame. But the reality is that there are people who actually is out here doing the work. And I had an opportunity to, attend this event. I attended virtually. They had it virtually and in person, which was amazing. And so I had a chance to just hear these people tell us about what's going on in our communities and things that we have to look forward to. But we have to also be more proactive as well to get out here and make shifts in our own lives so that we can be a part of that group and we can help build our communities the proper way. So this symposium, it was just full of so much life. I attend the community briefings weekly, and a lot of times when we're on these meetings, there's a lot of frustration. And mind you, I'm probably usually the youngest person on this meeting, and all I hear them talking about is how they have to support us young folks. We all have to work together to build our community, and how frustrating the system is, because we know that there are still systems in place that block us from our prosperity. But what makes this symposium great is that we came together on this day at the Chase Bank to talk about possibilities. We talked about the future. We talked about building equity amongst Black and brown families. And while there are issues, I'm the type of person that loves to focus on, what can we do? That's the reason why we created Black Money Matters Act Like It. built off the idea of Black Wall Street, even though there was some tragic, situations that happened. How did we become successful, and how can we duplicate that? So being a part of this symposium really helped me to see that there is some light at the end of the tunnel, and pretty much what it takes is for the young and the old to come together and work together to build the future for our kids, for us, and for the next generation, so that we really have that ability to build generational wealth. So I'm excited about talking about these events and these folks that, I've been able to listen to and learn from, because I think that information is very important, but information that is applied is equally as important. So with that said, we're going to take our first break. This segment, I'm going to just let y'all know, will be loaded with some great information, some gems to chew on as we work on building some equity in our communities. But for now, let's take our first break. And tonight's picks is going to be a mixture of spoken word and music. The first piece is titled Eyes Bluer Than Mine by Set the Versifier, a dynamic spoken word artist from Inglewood. Have a listen. We'll be right back.
I seen eyes bluer than mine. Black skin, sometimes lighter, but mostly the pigments a bit darker. They hearts beat harder, born to be martyred. It's in their nature. Divine, straight from our Creator, and if it's heaven sent, then who are we to debate it? Our backbones, our future. They're the shit that hold us together when we fall apart like London bridges. And since we've been kids, born and raised, lied to, unwittingly closing our eyes, similar to be blind. But are you listening? Can you hear me? Tell me, where would we be without our black women? See, I couldn't even imagine or fathom the devastation we'd be in. They keep us strong in our moments of weakness. We need them. In Willie Lynch's speech, Making of the Slave, he states the most important thing is controlling the women. If she don't support the man, he's weaker, then she influences the children, so the disconnect grows deeper. Man, ain't that some shit? How do white men know the key to our salvation, but black folks sitting around holding hands, praying, waiting on Jesus to come fix our fucked up generation? Get off your knees from praying and just crack the foundations on which you've been stationed. Break barriers of sexist ideologies and rupture your thoughts like earthquakes in Haiti. It's crazy. It's crazy how our generation has dehumanized our queens. Men treat women as if they own them. Possessive nightmares kind of starts to remind me of slavery. It said that they only worth something if their back is bent. And I tell you, after our daughters turn to women, that's how half their life is spent. Because it's hard to keep your vertebrae straight when it's consistently holding up 6 times its weight. I said. They said they only worth something if their back is bent. And I tell you, after our daughters turn to women, that's how half of their life is spent, because it's real hard to keep your vertebrae straight when it's consistently holding up 6 times its weight. Amazing. They're modern day saviors, bearing the cross of all those who can't hold their own weight, but men can't be the spirit that stabs them in the rear. We were made to support each other, men at the head and women from the side to be equal, and it's evil how we perceived. How we gonna fight injustice if our own communities is fucked up? We gotta love each other. These black women got blue eyes because they are teary-eyed, because we don't respect them enough, as if they weren't born into a society that's already tough. How much pain can your heart take before it starts to break like the levees when Katrina came knocking at its front gate? Every day we gotta deal with white supremacy and racism, and they can't even come home to their so-called man to get confirmation that they a symbol of greatness. And I hate it. How we gonna fix the outside world if our inside's so tainted? If we gonna rebuild, we gotta start from the roots beneath the surface of the floors. We gotta love and respect our women more. We gotta hold their hand and open the door for them. It's the little shit. We gotta reinforce the culture of our women being priceless. It's a cycle. We gotta start to treat our women as good as what they really worth. Then that gives birth to them treating us like kings, and then our children see it and do the same damn thing, and it repeats itself generation to generation. And then we reshape our history, and we create our own destiny. Crowned is royalty.
You are tuned into the Out of the Box podcast, season 3, episode 4. Today we highlight some initiatives taking place in our community. Here are a few other names to remember from the panel discussion, Developing Equity and Crenshaw Corridor. But before we get into that, this piece that you just heard, you guys, Set Diversifier, he is really speaking to the people. He's, he lights a fire inside of you, but he also just speaks from a real place. And as we are here on Out of the Box podcast, we are out of the box. We're not going to be boxed in by, the systemic, ideologies of how we're supposed to move. So, yeah, let me know what y'all think about that piece. It was very strong, in my opinion, but let me know what y'all think. All right, so back to the conversation. So at the symposium, Crenshaw Corridor Symposium, there were a few other names that I wanted to bring up, and then some facts, that was brought to our attention because, there's a lot of things going on that we don't know about, especially as our community. There's so many resources that are, placed out there politically, right? And I'll talk about that in a second, that we don't know about, so we don't take advantage of, which leaves us in a state of constantly being, disadvantaged. All right, so there was another woman. Her name is Sherry Franklin. She is the CEO of Urban Design Center, the Urban Design Center. Her mission is singularly to help transform community and economic development visions into reality. To date, Sherry has managed in the land use entitlement, capital development, and project management for over that's a big number, 200 million in subsidized affordable housing, infrastructure, improvement, economic development, enterprise expansion projects totaling over 1 billion in value. All right, so these are people in our community. This is a black woman. Her name is Sherry Franklin. She is the CEO of Urban Design, right? So that's another example. We talk a lot about representation. That is representation for us. We can do this, right? And then the next person was Sarah Harris, who is the CEO and president of Black Business Association. So they provide business owners and corporate partners with an easy access site to provide information, tools, resources, and upcoming and past events. So they are another resource for black businesses. And a huge shout out to Vermont Slauson Development Economic Corporation, who has been of service to my business, my sister, and my mother's business, Nova Sky Hair Experience. And these organizations are staples in our community that is really helping us to grow our businesses. Yeah, and expand, y'all. So special thank you to those who are out here actually doing the work. So here's some gems, some major takeaways that I took from this event, right? So Michael Anderson, he informed us that the Biden administration has put $1.2 trillion in place to upgrade the infrastructure, which is accompanied by an executive order to advance racial equity. There is $1.7 trillion available with priority to underserved communities, and this money must be spent by 2026. So with that said, it's time to let go of our differences and connect on a political level to put together proposals, strategies on how this money can be spent to collectively develop our communities. That means egos got to be removed. The priority should be on community and not one's own agenda. All right. So what tends to happen in our community is that there's these executive orders, there's money, set aside from the government, but the information don't get back to us soon enough. And it kind of reminds me of the emancipation, right? Like when the black folks was emancipated, they didn't find out till like 2 years later that they were free. And that's kind of like the same way, the system works to give us information slow, so we can't take advantage of it and build our community. So I'm using this platform to bring light to these businesses, these business owners, these community resources, so that we can start taking advantage of it. Because there's so many conflicts going on with our community, and in the Lamert Park village in general, there's so much going on, from developers to business owners to emerging small businesses. And I'll give you a prime example. I think it was last month I decided that I was going to go out and set up a tent out in Lamert Park, right? Because I have my seller's permit and I have my vendor's license. So I'm like, yeah, let me go out here, because I haven't been, and I'm learning, about how that works. So I go out and I set up in front of, a couple businesses. They're on the street, and it wasn't until like maybe a few hours in, after having a conversation with the owner and just hearing his frustration from, us blocking parking spaces, to sell merch. And sometimes the merch is duplicated. So what's happening is the vendors are taking away customers from the establishments that are paying their rent at a brick and mortar, or may have some level of ownership of their brick and mortar business, trying to generate revenue. There's small businesses emerging, blocking that. And so, when I'm thinking about another business, and I think about my family's business, and it's like, what if somebody just pulled up and came up and set up a tent and started doing hair in front of their salon? We're not going to be happy about that, right? So I think there should be a mutual respect when it comes down to black businesses. That idea that we're trying to, get one up on another, or we're trying to be more successful at the, demise of another, it's not helping us, and it's not really building our community. Instead, it creates more conflict. Like, what if the developers, the business owners, and the small businesses decided to come together, and we decided that we're going to do this thing together, and we're going to build our community, and we got one major proposal that we want to propose, and it benefits everybody. Everybody wins, right? But everybody's heart is not like that, and that's understood. However, I think that there's a chance for us to move forward and really start building with one another, so that we can, get that generational wealth, and we can also put ourselves in position to receive our reparations if we're working together, right? So I really wanted to lay that on you guys, and make sure that you guys are thinking about these things, because it's just time for us to move forward. It's time for us to grow together, and there's only one way to do it, and that's just everybody being on the same page. All right, so I know this is a lot of information, so we're going to take another break. This next song is by my good friend and sis, Silhouette, the poet. We named our Silhouette Blue tees after her, from our previous collection, which is now available on our rebranding sale. But it was an ode to a great friend and supporter. She's been a great supporter of the brand. So do yourselves a favor and support the brand, but also just listen to this song. It's called Once Thing, and we'll be right back.
You got me catching feelings of what used to be a good thing. Now all I feel is the bitter pain of what used to be a sweet thing that once used to make me insane. To be apart from my main thing that once was a burning flame that made me your baby making thing that once made me constantly scream your name from the bliss of that once sexual thing, that once memory of when you used to kiss me softly on that explicit I can't say thing that once used to rouse me easily thing. You got me catching feelings of when we used to walk in the rain through the beautiful terrain of the botanical garden plain that love was gained, picking flowers and throwing petals in the wind, saying he loves me not, she loves me not thing, doing that hugging thing while under the orchid tree doing that kissing thing. Now you got me singing that song that Minnie Riperton used to sing, reminiscing on what used to be a lovely thing that once used to make my mind travel back down memory lane. Ooh yeah, that once romantic thing when to stroll down the shore, doing that holding hands thing with our pants rolled up to our knees, making prints with our feet on the beach thing, writing I love you really big with our fingertips in the sand thing, watching the tide roll in and roll out, washing our I love you away thing, and then saying, dang, the waves ain't got no respect for anything. Now all I feel is the mind games being played over and over and over again in my membrane that once had me yearning day after day for that irresistible thing that now has my psyche running back down lover's lane in search of what once was a dreamy thing. My once thing was the ultimate thing, my groove thing that once was a tender thing, my gratifying thing that once was a passionate thing, my sentimental thing that now ain't a damn thing but a bad memory thing of what once was an affectionate thing that once used to be an all-night thing full of pleasurable love type thing once when our love had no time frame, when we were once each other's forever love thing, which is now a remnant of a defunct once thing.
I'm going back down memory lane. Oh, going back down. Going back down. I'm going back down memory lane. Oh, going back down. Going back down.
You are tuned in to the Out of the Box podcast, season 3, episode 4. In case you're just joining us, we are discussing some community news, and we feel is important information for our community to learn about. So this past Saturday, I attended the community briefing. No, I said Saturday, I meant Thursday. As well as the Environment Shapes Behavior event hosted by Gorilla RX, which was blessed by Elder Shakina Shakur and presented by Wella at the Plant Chica. All right, so let's talk about the community briefing this past Thursday. So that's the regular meeting. Like I said before, the Crenshaw Corridor Symposium, which was hosted by the community briefing, was the Crenshaw Corridor Symposium. But the community briefing this past Thursday, there was a presenter by the name of Tara Lynn Gray. She is a small business advocate at California Governor's Office of Business and Economic Development. So they aim to help small businesses thrive and get resources they need to grow and expand their business. They have $4 billion in funding and COVID relief grant funding to support small businesses. They want to advance wealth creation and economic mobility through entrepreneurship, so they aim to close the gap of revenue generated in small and Black-owned businesses. So this is a resource, another resource, sort of like the Vermont Slauson Development Economic Corporation. And so what these resources tend to do is they provide small businesses with technical assistance, right? So for Black Money Matters, we needed technical assistance with bookkeeping. We needed technical assistance with getting licensed properly. We needed a lot of just different structural technical assistance, because although, you know, we have a good business idea, it needs to have a business plan and strategy. And so Vermont Slauson definitely has been very helpful to the Black Money Matters Act Like It brand. We're actually attending a course now, which is every Wednesday, called Business in the Pews. And so this is a class that is helping churches utilize the talent within the church and helping build our economic structure in the church, right? So my article, Little Africa Reboot, had the same similar idea as the Business in the Pews, because what I conceptualize in our community is using all of our businesses to come together to create a larger power structure, right? And so Black businesses being the most successful business that has survived through centuries of segregation, it survived attacks, bombings. It survived so many different, phases in our community, and there's still black churches to this day. So as a foundation, I think the black church is definitely the center, one of the centers of our community that needs to be uplifted. But there's also, people inside the church that can help the church grow economically. So I think that that's something that we could definitely look into and support, because I think that we need to start utilizing every avenue to build what we need. Black Wall Street was bought by one person, but everybody played their part. Just like, everybody had a part to play. One person was the arm, one person was the leg, one person was the eyes. Like, they were all a part of this overall community that was able to be successful. And that's what led to the massacre of Black Wall Street, was success. So, I have this thought like, hey, are we afraid of success? Because a lot of people would rather be comfortable than to actually push towards success. And I think that might be a trauma response, right? Like, naturally, in our, not of our mind, but in our subconscious mind, maybe some folks don't want to be successful because it comes with a lot of responsibility, and it may come with some fear. But how can we get, to a place of having some generational wealth if we continue to stay in that space of fear, right? Because our minds is always right. So if you think something bad is going to happen from you being successful, something bad is going to happen from you being successful. But if you think that you have a chance to be successful and grow, and you believe that you're going to be successful and grow, you are going to be successful and grow. So I think that that's definitely something that we can take a look at as kind of like a blueprint for us. All right, Lord, I hope my throat don't attack me again this week, because it feels like it's coming on. But anyway, the next event that we attended was the Environment Shapes Behavior event. This event was a spiritual experience. There were some amazing art pieces that was developed by Wella, who designed it to speak to us and share the message. When everyone loves, everyone heals. The event was in part to bring awareness to the greenhouse that has been a positive and peaceful space in our community to heal, fellowship, and grow. Plant Chica is the location and is now being priced out of their space with no place to go. Plant Chica has a GoFundMe where they are raising $100,000 to save the peaceful and healing space in South Central LA. So if you can support this mission, please feel free to follow Plant Chica on Instagram. Tap the link in their bio to support the community greenhouse. There are many ways that you can support. You don't have to necessarily support through money. You can also share with somebody. If you know somebody who loves plants, go ahead and share with them. All right. So the Black Money Matters Act Like It a brand is about serving, educating, and uplifting our community. So we urge you to support spaces as they develop and attempt to grow our community. Because what tends to happen in our communities, gentrification. Developers are attempting to disrupt the flow of an established culture. So what we want to do is make sure that we're there for people in our community who provide value. All right, so let's support. Let's check them out. Go check out Plant Chica. It's at ThePlantChica. All right. So before we go on our next break, I want to shout out Nova Sky Hair Experience. This business is a family-owned business. It's co-founded by my sister Clois McConaughey and my mother Tanya McConaughey. And they recently received their establishment license. And so, as a family business, I have mentored them through the rough patches. And now they have finally established themselves as a legitimate business in Gardena. So I wanted to shout them out really quick, show them some love. Go over to Nova Sky Hair Experience if you need your hair done. We are about healing the crown. So if you find yourself having some issues with your scalp, you want to get your hair treated, you want your hair to grow, you want healthy hair, head over to Nova Sky Hair Experience. All right, family. So we are going to take our final break. We're going to hear the angelic voice of Grammy-nominated songwriter Brittany Jackson. This song is called I See You, and I'm dedicating this song to my niece, Nova Sky McConaughey. Stay tuned.
Flight to my night. One more time. And even though it's not the same anymore, my heart is your home. Never let me go. It's okay with me. Take your wings. Oh, I'm selfish and I wanna fly with you. Show me how to take flight. And even though it's not the same anymore, my heart is your home. Never let me go.
You are tuned in to the Out of the Box podcast, season 3, episode 4. Yo, that song that we just heard called I See You by Brittany. If y'all watching, you might have seen me crying. Because that song definitely makes me think of Nova. But I just love that song. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. We're giving you the inside scoop of what's going on in the community and who is at the forefront sharing much needed information and resources. But right now, we have a special guest on our line that we want to go and talk to her. So, Miss Wanda, you there?
I am here. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. We have Wanda Honore on the line. She is a great supporter of the podcast, of the brand. Yes. And we are also partnered with her organization, Urban Financial Literacy, who is our sponsor. So y'all show her some love. How you doing, Miss Wanda? How you doing today?
I am doing wonderful. I wish I could give you back some of the ghetto language that I've been learning out here in Beaufort, South Carolina. But I've been doing wonderful. I'm here at the Gullah Festival in South Carolina.
Can you tell us about the Gullah Festival?
Yes. The Gullah Festival is actually the reason it came about as the honor of Decoration Day, and Decoration Day is actually the reason why we have Memorial Day. And so we have, a rich history here in the South Carolina, and I went to Charleston and Savannah, but here specifically in Beaufort, South Carolina, was where the Decoration Day began, which was as a result of all of the African American soldiers who fought in the Civil War, but were literally just thrown together in one big massive grave. And the infantry, when the war was over, went back, and it was over 200 bodies that they exhumed, and they gave individual graves, and they buried in the National Cemetery. And so they decorated the graves with cobblestones, and not cobblestones, with shells and what do you want to call it, flowers and things of that nature. And they had a big parade. In fact, the parade consisted of, they said the first parade was about 10,000 people, and it was both Americans from the Union side and from the Confederate side that marched in the parade in honor of these African American soldiers who had died, fighting in the war, actually for our freedom, so to speak. Yeah.
What is it like out there? Like, do you feel the energy from what you're learning about the space?
It's really, for me, it's information I have learned in the past, but it's just so different being here. And the people here they're called Gullah, and they're called Gullah Geechee. Okay. And people would think, some people say that Geechee, they used to have it as a bad name, and I guess it's kind of like how people look at the N-word, where, when we say it, it's kind of like it's not a bad word, so to speak, in many people's eyes. But the Geechee is a term that just basically describes the people from this area, and they speak the Gullah language, and they have their own language and whole culture that they literally instill in their children. And so it's good to see how these people here in this part of the country, between the Charleston, where I am, in Beaufort and Savannah, they literally have preserved a lot of the history of who they are. And because of them being in a situation where they were actually allowed to acquire the land, because this is where, when they first announced that the war was over, all the white folk fled. And so they literally left these formerly enslaved Africans to their own devices, and they had to figure it out. But they were able to acquire land and to be able to still, maintain their culture. And there's just such a rich history here of a lot of positive things that happened with our people, and so it's really nice. Unfortunately, it's not the type of weather that we had anticipated, because last year was scorching hot. Today or this weekend, it's been cold rain and raining the whole time, but it hasn't dampened the spirits of most of the people here, because the festival is still going on. They've had to make some changes, but I just got to see a nice play, and the play commemorates the history of the Gullah people here and the whole Decoration Day. And so it's just really good to see a whole community, this is actually over 100 islands. I had no idea. It's over 100 islands in this particular area where you can literally own your own island. And fortunately, of course, when white folk find out, there's islands for sale, and they've come out and tried to acquire a lot of land. But aside, not like they're doing in Los Angeles and some of the other areas, they actually put together some legal protections. So where people had started, the heirs had started selling off some of the property, and like some Shell gas station bought a property and then acquired almost the whole block where it had originally been black owned. They put some stops to all of that, so now you can't just come in and buy up the land from the people here that are the original Gullah people. And so it's really good to see that they are really trying to, maintain their culture, and they've made agreements not to, even entertain selling the land. And they are, instilling that culture within their children. They have their own language. It's kind of like, I don't know if you're familiar with Pidgin English or Pidgin Latin or something of that nature, but it's a language that they speak, and they have it's actually written down. They actually even have a New Testament Gullah Bible, which is really interesting.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So it's a lot of really rich history here, and I don't know if you knew, but one of the biggest reasons why they brought certain people, especially from Africans from West Africa here, these islands are full of marshlands, and marshlands are very good for growing a grain that everybody eats, rice. We thought rice came from, Asia or some other. Rice literally came from Africa. And the Africans were the ones who taught the country how to, the Africans were the ones who taught how to grow and eat rice. And so it's a big, and that is why South Carolina became the richest state, because of that particular commodity.
Wow.
So it's a lot of things that I'm learning that I never knew, and just really interesting to hear and to see, and look at the places where Denmark Vesey, I don't know if people have heard of him, as well as Robert Smalls, and just a lot of our historical figures lived, and were a big part of doing some really great things for our history, and and me being a person who's always looking at us coming together and, being able to do better in terms of our financial picture. It's just really good to see. And I really wish that, those of us on the West Coast could really do more, to come together with those out here, because out here there's so much land, and and out where we are, we have other resources, maybe more technical resources, and I think there would be so many opportunities if we could come together and just start collaborating more.
Yeah, that's been the topic of the show today. Community economic development, and like learning about the Gullah people. That's important for us to know, because we can go and look and see what has these people done, you know, politically to get themselves protected, you know, because that's one of the major issues that we have, is that we don't know what our political protections are. So anything goes for us, you know. So that history is very rich.
Most definitely. You know, they have, you know, I mean, you know, and it's, you know, they have different things that are happening, just like they happen there on, you know, where we are, where they're trying to redistrict things, and, you know, a lot of whites are coming into the area, and they're, you know, changing things because they want to have easier access to, you know, resorts that they've been able to acquire, or, you know, other things. But the people here, they really are paying attention, and they're really working hard to maintain their culture and also the control over what's going on here. And so, to me, I'm just kind of proud, you know, to see what's going on here, and, you know, just how the people here have come together, and, you know, they seem to be working together to maintain, you know, such a rich culture, and just, you know, on this background of all the things that really kind of originated, you know, here, and have really influenced the whole country, to be honest.
Yeah. Last question before we hang up. What is the Gullah festival like?
Well, the festival, like I said, unfortunately, this year is not the type of festival that it has been in the past, but, you know, it's kind of reminiscent of Murray Park or something of that nature, except for it's right there on the water. There's there's boats and, you know, yachts and things docked over there, but there's a series of booths, and they have the different cultural artifacts. There's grass baskets that I don't know, we may have seen, that came from Africa. I've actually traveled to Africa and in Ghana and purchased some of these baskets that are also part of the culture here, and they make these baskets, and so those are for sale. They have a lot of artwork, really beautiful artwork, and, you know, clothing, and a lot of it is very reminiscent of, you know, if you're going to Africa and seeing the types of wood carvings and things of that nature. However, we weren't able to really get a good, you know, view of all that today, because it's just been really windy and rainy. But they did have a white party yesterday, which, although it was raining and whatever, people came out and we all got together. And then, you know, first everyone was kind of like cold and whatever. They brought in some heat fans. I've never seen, they actually have fans that are blowing heat, so they're blasting this heat. But anyhow, everybody got up and they were doing different line dances, and, you know, you had some people teaching. And so we're from all over the country, from the East Coast, you know, all the way to the West Coast, and everybody was just really enjoying each other, and just having a good time. And so it's an opportunity for people to come together and just share, you know, enjoy the culture that they have, and the, you know, and how, you know, obviously the similarities that we all have. And so, although it's been, you know, like I said, it's been wet, it hasn't put a total damper on everything, and I'm really enjoying the people. They had a group of Buffalo Soldiers, you know, the bikers that came down from the South Carolina, the mountains up from the South Carolina area, and so they're out here, and so it's just been really nice to see the different people. A lot of different fraternities and sororities are being represented here. You know, me being a Delta, that's been really interesting. I have an AKA that's my roommate, so we tease each other.
Okay.
But yeah, we've really been enjoying the whole the whole situation, and one of the things that I will leave, you know, my comments with in terms of the play was that the person that put this whole thing together, and she's kind of called the queen of the whole situation. She used to be a teacher. She's very she's an actress, very talented, but she ended the play talking about the biggest thing that she wanted to talk about is how love is the most important thing. People are not taught to hate. No matter who you are, you know, what your background is, you've learned, that's learned, and if we would not teach our children to hate and to, to look at differences in a negative way and that type of thing. This world will be a whole different place. And that was something that, I thought was definitely, very powerful. She wasn't saying that you don't overlook things, but that you don't want to act like someone else because that's how they act, because that's why the world is like it is today. And so, I thought that was very, very inspirational. And, so I'm really enjoying myself. This is my last day. I'll be coming back tomorrow. And I just wish more people could come out and see this whole area because, like I said, we toured 3 different cities, and so it was really enlightening, very enlightening.
Well, thank you so much for calling in and sharing this information with us because, I think that just exposing people to the information, it gives them the opportunity to look it up and then, take themselves down there and learn more for themselves. So we definitely appreciate you for calling in, Miss Wanda. We're going to wrap up the show. So thank you again. Thank you for calling in.
Thank you, and I'm very proud of what you're doing. You know that I'm always willing to support and and encourage you, and hopefully you are being able to make a difference in a lot of young people who need to hear this information. So thank you very much for the opportunity to talk today.
I definitely appreciate all your support. You have a great rest of your trip. Get home safely, and I'll be talking to you soon.
All right. Peace.
All right. Peace. All right, y'all. So you heard Miss Wanda. We got to go check out the Gullah Island in South Carolina. But now we're going to wrap up our show. Y'all be sure to check out the Out of the Box podcast everywhere you get your podcasts. Out of the Box podcast can be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Audible, Stitcher, Spotify, and Pandora, just to name a few. Subscribe to our shows and get updates on new episodes. Also subscribe to our YouTube channel. All you gotta do is search J Got Soul and you subscribe. You get all of the updates on all of our shows. This has been Out of the Box podcast, season 3, episode 4. Thank you to those who tuned in live. We enjoyed ourselves and we hope you did too. We want to again extend a special thank you to Urban Financial Literacy. Check them out at urbanfinancialliteracy.com. And also check out blackmoneymattersactlikeit.com. So subscribe to my YouTube channel. We will be back next week, next Saturday on the 3rd. So tap in with us because we are out.